Hello and welcome to Thought for the Day from St Peter's, Bexhill. Are you annoyed when people's phones go off? Particularly in church. It can be funny or it can be really annoying. Depends when. And it's always embarrassing for the person whose phone it is. But this is a retelling of one of Jesus' parables and it uses phones. So see what you think. It's the parable of the great feast from Luke chapter 14. You can find it from verse 15 onwards. Once upon a time, there lived a king who decided to host a great banquet. He sent out invitations to some very important guests. Then he commanded his servants to fetch the finest food from the four corners of his kingdom. And when all was ready, he sent his servants out again to tell his guests that the time had come. The servants came to the first guest, but as soon as they had opened their mouths, the man's phone began to ring. "I'm very sorry," he said. "That was my estate agent. I've just bought a field. The prices are coming down, don't you know? And I must go and see it. Tell your master I cannot come to his banquet." The servants came to the next guest, but as soon as they had opened their mouths, her phone began to ring too. "I'm very sorry," she said. "That was my stockbroker. I've just bought shares in the cattle market and we need to take care of some paperwork. Tell your master I cannot come to the banquet." So the servants went to the next guest, and it was just the same. As soon as they opened their mouths to speak, his phone rang as well. "I'm very sorry," he said. "That was my wife. We've just got married, you see, and we need to spend some quality time together at IKEA. Tell your master that I cannot come to his banquet." When the king heard all these excuses, he was furious. His banquet was ready, the hall was a picture, and the cakes looked amazing. And so he came up with another idea. "Go into the streets and the alleys," he said to his servants, "and invite the poor, the blind, and the lame to my feast." So that's what the servants did. They went out into the alleys and the streets, and when the poor received their invitations, they cheered. When the blind heard the news, they cheered even louder. And when the servants spoke to the lame, they cheered loudest of all. They followed the servants to the banquet hall, but when they had all sat down, there were still more empty seats. "Go out into the country," ordered the king, "to the roads and to the lanes, and invite the country folk as well." And so the servants went to the country, and when the country folk received their invitations, they all said, "Yee-haw!" And the poor and the blind and the lame and the country folk gobbled down the delicious cakes. And apart from the guests who had made their excuses, they all lived happily ever after. Amen.